here. What type is this? Yeah, this is the right down. Just to go to the bottom. So the Gemara here has been talking about Mapolis. That's how the Sugi came in. A lot of Agadata today. And the Sugi came in because it says in the Mishnah about Mapolis, if there's things, buildings that are falling in, so they have to fast. And there's neighboring cities also, if you don't see any reason that you can attribute it only to that place, you have to be cautious that there's going to be also a marker for the neighboring places also. And because of that, the Gemara brought in some stories about falling walls and dangerous buildings. So we had one story about what does it say? About the Abba was first. Rabbi Shmuel didn't go under a wall that was a shaky wall, and then it also brought a story from Rav Huna that he had wine in a house, a shaky house. Also, he didn't take it out only if Avad Abba was there because of his merit. Avad Abba was upset because Menakalom is Chuyosa. And after that, the Gemara brought Rav Huna towards the end of the page. Let's see where that is. Rav Huna. Amalei Rafim Rav Papa. So this is a new Gemara now that also talks about Rav Huna, something about the houses that were falling down, the shaky walls. So it says, just to review it outside what the Gemara said so far, that Rav asked Rafim Rav Papa to tell him about Rav Huna's great deeds. So he said, I don't remember in his youth, but I remember in his older age. And he says a few things that he did. The first one was that on a cloudy, rainy, stormy day, he would go out in a golden chariot. I think the point was to show his authority because he was going to do things that not everybody would like. And he would inspect the city, but he saw a shaky wall, he would take it down. So I imagine that the owner of the house was, who are you? So he came with his golden chariot to show that who he is. And he took down the wall that it shouldn't be dangerous. On a stormy day, it might fall. So he took down those walls. If the person was rich enough to be able to build it up, so then he made him do it himself. If not, then he would pay for it in order to build it up again. And then he continued more stories about Rav Huna. That was the main reason why I brought it down, about that story. Then he continued also that he would buy out the market on Erev Shabbos, and the Gemara says in order that the Yarkanim, those who are selling the vegetables and fruit, that they shouldn't watch this stuff, please, that they shouldn't stop bringing as much merchandise if it doesn't get sold. But what did he do with that at the end? So he put it down the river. Rashi says that it'll be people on the other end of the river that'll get it, but he didn't want to give it out of here for Taniyim because they might rely on it and not try to prepare for Shabbos. He didn't give it to animals because you're not supposed to give human food to animals. And that's what we're up to, about how many lines from the bottom? About 4 or 5 lines from the bottom. Just on this list halacha that it says about we're not supposed to give human food to animals. So do we pass like that? So the Gilin Hashash brings down that the Mogen Avon talks about it in Simon Kuf Ayin Aleph in Mishnah Berurah, and over there the Mishnah Berurah brings down that some question if the halacha is like Rav Huna, maybe you are allowed to give human food to animals, and he ends off over there that if there's nothing else to give the animals, then you may point everybody. Maybe that's the reason why people are able to give bread and other human food to animals also.
A little rice and also
that you are allowed to give.
Yeah.
That if you have human food, it says that people might give it to animals also. So, I don't know. Over there talks about. Okay, that's over there in the sugya. If something, yeah, animal food is not muksa, human food is not muksa. In the sugya over there, again, the muksa. If something, okay, it's not too much to talk about now. But halacha l'maisa, I just would say that if there's food that you're surely not going to use for humans, then everybody would hold the chor, you're allowed to give it to animals. If it's going to go into the garbage, even if it's a good piece of chicken, you'd be allowed to give it to, because no one's going to eat it anymore. So that's not called human food anymore. But something which is right for humans, then there's a question if you could give it to animals. Okay, the Gemara continues another story about Rav Huna. The gears are a little bit shaky over here, but the point that they say, let's read it as best as we can. It starts ki. 5 lines from the bottom, the last word, ki. Ki heva, take out the word milsa, take out the word lay. Have a milsa da susa, have a malikuza, they say mine instead of the maya mine. This is where the box changes. The total they see for the besa. The idea would be when he had some kind of a medicine he would put a cup full of it on the threshold of his door. The Omar called the boy lazy, whoever needs could take. So I don't. That's some kind of gemach trufot, a medicine gemach. That if he had a medicine which was available that people could use, he would give it for free. Ikadam Yad has a different version of this thing that he did. Milsa the Shifta have a gomer. He knew about Shifta. Shifta, Rashi brings down, we had a Maseches Yuma, there's some kind of a danger of eating food with unwashed hands. So he would make sure people would wash before they would eat. He would take a cup of water and hang it up, I guess by his door, before people came in to eat, that they should wash and they shouldn't have this problem of this shade, which is called Shifsa. The Omar called it Tzarech Leisiv Ulayol, the Lola Stock, and anybody who wants could come in order they shouldn't be in danger of eating something which was Shifsa, this kind of shade might affect him, so he would put water. And one more thing that he did, Rav Huna, when he would be eating, breaking bread, when he would be dining at lunch, whatever, so he would open up his gate, his door, and he would say, whoever wants could come in. Any poor people were invited to eat by his meal. All the things said about him, about knocking down the shaky walls and about buying out the market, even, I don't know if he could do that also, says he could, and also about giving the gemach for medicines, and these things I could do. But the last thing that he used to open, invite everybody, open doors, possibly by his meals, I can't do. This I cannot do. Next page. From the because there are too many people that are going to come. So Rashi says there were many poor people in the Mechuzah, all of them would come. The word alone, B'nei Chela, sounds a little bit like an army. It might have been that there was an army stationed over there, and they would all come in to eat, so he couldn't open it up. Couldn't open up his door. Rashi says, poor people, it would be too much. He wouldn't be able to afford to open up his house every time he eats that anybody wants to come in. Too many people would come in. The Gemara says another story now. That the Karen, the principal, is going to get finished. I want to be able to, if it's only like the payros and the Karen is going to be kayemes, I'll be able to still have my wealth. But if everything's going to get finished up, I'm not going to have any money anymore. The Gemara on the top line starts a new story. Also, Aga, because of these things about the shaky wall, don't go under a shaky wall. It starts a new story. Ilfa Rav Yochanan have a Gasi Baraisa. Two Amaron. Rav Yochanan is famous. Ilfa is not so famous. But the Gemara is going to say here that he was a bigger Talmud Chacham than Rav Yochanan. Ilfa and Rav Yochanan have a Gasi Baraisa. They were learning Torah. They were very stuck for money. They were very poor. So they said, let's go and do business, and we'll fulfill in ourselves the pasuk that says that there's not going to be any poor people. Hashem says a bracha, there's not going to be any poor amongst you. So not that it's a mitzvah not to be poor, but there's such a mitzvah that says Hashem gives a bracha, there shouldn't be any poor people, so let's do that. We'll do business in order not to be poor. Azlu, and they went on the way to do business. They were sitting under a shaky wall. So it's dangerous. And that's a sakana. Makom sakana. The Satan comes and prosecutes. They were eating bread under the wall. And two angels came and they were talking to each other. And Yochanan heard them. One malach said to the other, let's throw upon them this wall and kill them. Because they're leaving the everlasting life and they're engaged in temporary life. That they're stopping to learn Torah in order to make business, which is Chayisha. This world is only Chayisha. So Torah and temporary life. So they're forfeiting.
It wasn't that they were eating bread at the moment.
They happen to be eating. They happen to be eating Karchi Rifta. They happen to be eating bread. That's true. But that's not the problem, right? No, the Chayisha is no. Yeah, you have to eat lunch. The point was that they were going to do business and leaving their learning. Not that it's usher, but especially since it says the Chikah Latuva. But it means for these people, they didn't have the schus to be saved from the danger of the wall because they had forfeited the possibility of learning. They could have learned, but they would have been poor. But they chose to make more money and they stopped learning, so they don't have the schus to be saved from the dangerous wall. The other angel answered the first angel, leave them, because one of them is going to be successful. Successful means he's going to be the one who's going to be the Rosh Hashiva. He's going to teach a lot of Torah. So because of that, so don't kill him. So both of them were saved. But only Rabbi Yochanan heard this whole conversation. Rabbi Yochanan Shama, Ilfa lo Shama. Rabbi Yochanan heard it. Ilfa didn't hear it. Only Rabbi Yochanan Ilfa Shama Ma'amidi. Ilfa asked Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan asked Ilfa, "Did you hear anything?" Amalei no, I didn't hear anything. But Rabbi Yochanan did hear. Amma, the Shami Anav Ilfa lo Shama Shami Ana Lididi Kamali Shaita. So Rabbi Yochanan said to himself, because since I heard and Ilfa didn't hear, so it sounds like I'm the one who's going to be the Rosh Hashiva. The fact that the Malach said one of them, and I heard this conversation, must be I'm the one. So Rabbi Yochanan said to Ilfa, I'll go back to learning, and even though I'll be poor, the Pasuk says there's such a thing of being poor also, that is never going to stop to be poor in the land. So it's true. There's a bracha that there shouldn't be any poor, but there's also a matzav of being poor. So I'll be poor and I'll learn. Rabbi Yochanan went back to learn, Rabbi Ilfa did not. By the time Ilfa came back from his business, so Rabbi Yochanan became Rosh Hashiva. They made Rabbi Yochanan to be the Rosh Hashiva. They said to Ilfa, if you would have stayed and learned, then Rabbi Yochanan wouldn't have been the Rosh Hashiva. You would have been the Rosh Hashiva. He went and he hung himself on the mast of the boat, on top the mast, that the big pole that they put the sail on, very high. Amar Iyika the Sholim b'Masnisa the Pri of Rabosha v'Lab Shit Pashtino b'Masnisan the film of the sky the Sfinta of Tavana. If anybody asks me a question of Brisa of a Pri and Boshaya, and I can't show him where it's hinted in the Mishnayos, I'm going to jump from this mast and I'm going to drown. It means I know he wanted to show that he knows the Torah even more than Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan couldn't take such a challenge, and he said anything in the Brisa I could show where the source is in the Mishnayos. So somebody challenged him.
Isn't this a bit like guy of a dick to do something like this?
I don't think so, because he's saying how he knows the Torah. He knows Torah more than Rabbi Yochanan even. The question was who should be the Rosh Hashiva, and he's showing that he's right to be the Rosh Hashiva. Gaiva means when a person attributes his greatness to himself and he doesn't realize that Hashem gave him Kalim and other things that it says in the Mesilas Yesharim that a person knows his deficiencies. The big Anav could know that he's great. He has to know his greatness. A person that doesn't know his greatness is not called an Anav. He's just fooling himself. He has to know the qualities that he has. He has to know his deficiencies, and etc. There's also about Gaiva we spoke about. We could do it again one day. So that doesn't mean Gaiva Dafka. And it's true. The Gemara is going to say that it's true. He was bigger than Rabbi Yochanan, and Itaka didn't make any mistakes, and he was able to answer the question also. That's going to be the end of the Gemara. The Gemara is going to just tell us one question that somebody asked, and it is strange that someone challenged him. As if if you don't know, so then jump. I don't know what. So Ram said that someone said this was Eliyahu Hanavi, and he knew that he knows the answer, and he just wanted to show everybody that Itaka knows. So he asked him a question, and Itaka did know, and that's the end of the story. But what the Gemara want to bring here, that the reason why the story came in is because of the shaky wall. That's how the whole story comes in. But on the Agra we get, and also Rabbi Yochanan didn't say, just to point out, that Rabbi Yochanan didn't say he's going to go learn and I'll be rich. He said I'll be poor. There was a choice to live poor and to be a Talmud Chacham and to be. He was Talmud Chacham even though he went to business also. It seems he went to business, he came back, and he still. But you don't find Ilfa too much in the whole Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan is all over. Ilfa you don't find too much. And here the Gemara says it was attributed to the fact. Now I just at one point also the Gemara says the people thought it was because Rabbi Yochanan was here, Ilfa wasn't here, and people think maybe it's because he didn't stay to learn. But the Gemara says differently. The Gemara says, if you look in the Gemara a little deeper, the Gemara said that it was preordained that Rabbi Yochanan should be Rosh Hashiva, not because of the story. The way it orchestrated was through this story, but not that was the real, like.
But the people said.
But they were wrong. Hashem would have done something. That's how it looked. But Hashem orchestrated it that way. But really, it says that that's what the Gemara says, that the Malachim said one of them is going to be a Rosh Hashiva, and that was very preordained. Rabbi Yochanan is supposed to be. But the way that it orchestrated, that's how it looked. What? One of them, and Rabbi Yochanan knew he's the one. Because he heard it. You want to say the possibility that maybe it would have been Ilfa, and then Ilfa would have been the Rosh Hashiva, maybe. But people didn't know all this. This was a question only about okay.
Maybe you should say one Rashi, Malach Rabbi Yochanan.
So Rashi brings a whole sugya that says that Rosh Hashiva also became rich.
Right.
I don't see Rashi brings a Gemara that I don't know where Rashi. I don't see where Rashi needs it in the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say anything about Rabbi Yochanan becoming rich. Rabbi Yochanan said he's going to go and be poor. It could be. Did Rabbi Yochanan become rich at the end? I don't know.
Yes, Rashi says yes.
Rashi brings a Gemara about it. Kohen Gadol, he's supposed to make him rich. So I don't know. Rashi brings a source from a Kohen Gadol. How do you know it applies also?
I'm not saying that. That's a good question.
Yeah, but in the Gemara you don't see it over here. And the Gemara doesn't. So Rashi's pointing. Rashi says that in Ma'aseh when Rabbi Yochanan became Rosh Hashiva, he also got money. He got money from being the Rosh Hashiva. I don't, so I say, Agamor doesn't say so. And also, Rashi means it's also for Kohen Gadol. I don't know that it applies to Rashi also. I don't know that it applies in this, unless he reads other Gemara. The fact that the Kohen Gadol over there says Farish, that the Kohen Gadol Me'echad, the Kohen Gadol is supposed to be richer than everybody else. Okay, Yashikov. The Gemara continues on the first,
Right, the middleman.
what? The middleman. So on the middle line over here, there's not the narrow, not the wide, one line over there. Asa Usab, Tanale. So an old man came, maybe it was Eliyahu Navi, maybe not, and he asked him the following brisa and tell me where it's sourced in the Mishnah. He's holding Ilfa's on top of the mast over there, and the other man's on the bottom of the ship, and he's telling him, tell me where it says this brisa. If a person says, give a shekel, which is half a selah, to my children per week. So the case is that he's dying. A person is dying, and he has giving over Yerusha. Yerusha is gonna, and he instructed that from the Yerusha, his children should be allotted a shekel a week for their needs. But really, and we less them seller. They really need more. Their expenses are a seller, double. Most of them seller. You give them a whole seller, and even though there's a guardian taking care of the money of the estate, but we assume that the father just meant whatever they need, and don't give them berevach. Rashi says that he wanted them that they should learn how to take care of themselves and to get a business, and they shouldn't just be relying on the Yerusha. But really, if they need it, give it to them. So we do give it to them. He didn't just say give them a shekel. He said don't give them only a shekel. Very explicit. Don't give them more than a shekel. Then a shekel. Even if they need more, he says specifically not to give more. You don't give more. And slowly they're going to give the allocation of the Yerusha is going to be given out a shekel a week until it gets used up. If he instructed that whatever's left over when they die, he had a big Yerusha, and he said they inherit. But whatever's left over after they die, I'm giving over now to somebody else. So when they die, it doesn't go to their Yorshim, it goes to whoever he assigned Lachatchila. So then, then, since it's going to be on the account of the people, they're going to get a loss. If they're going to spend more, so then there's going to be less left over. So then you only give them a shekel, even if he said stam. They see that he's dafka. The father meant dafka because he wanted that the Yerusha should be left over. Whatever's left over of the Yerusha should go to other Yorshim, a different Mekabel Matana, somebody else, a different recipient. So this is a brisa, and the old man was asking Ilfa, where's the source of this in the Mishnayos? Amalei, so Rabbi Chia answered, Ilfa, I'm sorry. Ilfa answered, Amani Rabbi Meir, the Amma mitzvah l'kam d'vi ames. The source of this is Rabbi Meir. Rashi brings down that it's Mishnah and Ksubas, that it holds mitzvah l'kam d'vi ames. Means mitzad the Yerusha, he has no say in the Yerusha. Whatever he dies, he doesn't have a right to say that they shouldn't yash a certain amount. He could say whatever's left over, I'm giving now to the next party. That he could do. Rashi seems to say, but he doesn't have a right to say how much they should eat. So how could he be a mandam? Why do we listen to him and only give them a shekel? If they need more, they have to take whatever they want. So it must be because mitzvah l'kam d'vi ames. That the mace, it's a mitzvah, it's not the Yerusha, it's a mitzvah to fulfill the words of the mace, whatever he asked for. And since he asked that there should be money going afterwards to the third party besides whatever is a shekel a week, so then it's a mitzvah to do that. So in order to do that mitzvah, we give a allotted amount to the Yorshim in order that it should be left over for the next party. So he found the source. And that's the end of the Gemara. And the only reason that it came in, as far as we're concerned, is because of the story about the shaky wall. Shaky wall is a dangerous, and a person has to be careful of Makom Sakana. He shouldn't go on the dangerous wall. The Gemara says a new story now. Third one line.
Everybody didn't have to know the prices.
Not everybody's responsible to know all the prices, but he said that he knows the source of every brisa.
And the source means in whose name?
No, it means that Rebbe put it, any brisa will be sourced in a Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to say it, even if it's not going to say explicitly.
The brisa will be sourced in a Mishnah.
That was the assumption over here. That there's nothing that Rav Chia Naboshia, who arranged the brises, there's nothing that's not hinted in the Mishnahs. If you know that.
So the source, when the old man asked what's the source, he meant which Mishnah sources this price.
Right. And he told him,
Rebbe Meir.
Right. It's only if you know this principle that every brisa is sourced in the Mishnah. He took that as a given, and he said, I know the source of every brisa in the Mishnahs. If it's from Rav Chia Naboshia, it means if there's a brisa flying around, that the Gemara says sometimes, that a brisa which is not in the Rav Chia Naboshia, which is, I think, the Tosefta, so then I'm not responsible. Maybe it's not an authoritative brisa. But any brisa that's in the Rav Chia Naboshia, I can find the source of it in the Mishnahs. The Gemara says on the third wide line, a new story. also about shaky wall. Amru Allah al Nachum Ish Gamzu. Everybody knows Nachum Ish Gamzu. This is the story. They said about Nachum Ish Gamzu, Shayasuma Mishtayina, Kida Mishtayada, Kitab Mishtayakla.
Rabbi Kiva, right?
Right. So they said that he was blind in both eyes, and both his hands were cut off, and both of his legs were cut off. And his whole body was full of boils. Some take out these words because it's going to be in the next line. What happened just now? Some take out these 4 words because it's going to be in the next. It's going to be in the next line. Some take it out over here. It sounds a little bit like it doesn't belong right here. It says that he was blind, and he had no hands and no feet, and he was full of boils, and the legs of his bed were in bowls of water in order that ants shouldn't come up on the legs of the bed because he wouldn't be able to help himself because he had no hands. His house, his bed was in a shaky house, a dangerous house. So they wanted to take him out of the house. They first wanted to take out his bed and him, and then take out the furniture. First take out, he told his Talmidim, my children, my sons, first take out the furniture and then take out my bed. Because as long as I'm here, it's not going to fall down. But if you take me out, then it might destroy all the furniture. The Taka did like he said, took out the furniture, then took out his bed, and then the house fell down. Since you're so righteous, the fact that we see that the house stood as long as you're inside, you're completely righteous. So why did it happen to you, all this service? He said, my sons, I caused it to myself. One time I was going on the road to my father-in-law. They had with me 3 donkey loads of so now it's going to say of what? One of food, one of drink, and one of different delights. A poor person came and stood on the road. Rabbi Parnassani, he said, my master, my teacher, give me food. I need food. I said, wait until I unload it from the donkey. And then he went to unload it. That I didn't have a chance to unload it, and he already died.
What could he have done?
He could have gone faster. Or
Or not say that he just
something-
quickly
Or he
get
could-
something.
or whatever
Maybe
you're going to
he
say.
couldn't give him anything unless he unloaded the donkey. Is that right? Or maybe he
Right.
could have gotten.
Maybe he
something
could
while-
have been prepared and
He
had
could-
something with him,
Or
or
he
he
could have
have
taken something while the donkey was still loaded.
something. It took too much time. It was something that he could have done more if he would have been more zariz. Of course, it's a Hasidus Gedola. He didn't say on the way back. He said, I'm going to get from the donkey, but it took too long. I went and I fell on his face. I said, my eyes that didn't have pity on your eyes should be blinded. My hands that didn't have pity on your hands should be cut off. And my feet that didn't have pity on your feet should be cut off. I wasn't calm until I said that my whole body should be full of shchim, of boils. The student said to him, woe that we see you in such a situation. Woe to me if you would not have seen me, means that in Olam Haba would have been much worse if I would not have been punished in this world. So he preferred to be punished in this world in order that I should become clean to Olam Haba. That's the end of the story. Unless there's a new story now, why is it called Nachum Ish Gamzu? Top line on the screen. So everybody knows the answer. But it's interesting about Ben Hanan over here. Looking at Ben Hanan now, he says that the Moshe Drash. The real reason why it's called Nachum Ish Gamzu is because it came from a place called Gimzu. There's a city that's called Gimzu. And like it says, Ish Yerushalayim, Ish Shreda, Yavo, Ish means the place where he lives. So here's the Ben Hanan, here's on the side. Shem Makom Hu. That the truth why it's really called Ish Gamzu is because it's the name of a place. That's where he lived, in a place called Gimzu. But the Mar says a drash why they made that to be his name, because he used to say Gamzu L'tov. But that's going to be the story now.
Where's the source inside?
You have the regular Gemara. In the regular Gemara, it's in the old Gemara. It's in the third line. In the edition I have on the screen, so it's on the now.
Thank you.
I think today also, if I remember, I've seen on the highway a place called Gimzu. Anybody familiar? So that's so that's it. That's not so not Nachum lived over there. Nachum is Gimzu.
That's what Gimzu.
So not Gemara is going to say Rash why it's called so. Amai Karol Nachum is Gamzu. The whole mitzvah that was salkal. Whatever used to happen, Amar Gamzu Lutov. He used to say that's also for the good. This also is for the good. Zimna the one case. One time, Am Yisrael wanted to send a present to the Caesar. Yezel Nachum Mish Gamzu. They said who should go to deliver the present? Nachum Mish Gamzu should go. The Malumet Benisin who because he's usual with miracles. Hashem does miracles for him, so it's safe to go with him. Shadu biyodei malei sifta davarim tovos magalis to send with him a box full. Rashi said a box or some kind of a sack full of precious stones and pearls. Azal bas bahu diva. He went and he slept in a certain dwelling. At night, the people of the dwelling, the residents, they came and they took the sack, the box, and they filled it with earth. They took all the precious stones and they filled it up with earth. They take out these words in the parentheses. It doesn't fit over here. Kimata Hasam, when he came there to the king, Sharinu Lesifta Chazinu the Malarafa. They opened up the bag and they saw that it's full of earth. So the king wanted to kill all of them, all the Jews that sent it. They wanted to kill him, making fun of him. The Jews are making fun of me. Nachum Ish Gamzu, he said, if this is what happened, so it's also going to be for good. Eliyahu came and he appeared as one of them, like one of the officers of the king. He said to the people, maybe this earth is from the earth of Avraham Avinu, their father. When he would throw the earth, it will become swords. When he would throw the kash, the straw, it will become arrows. So that's a drash in the pasuk. The pasuk over there is a pasuk in Yeshaya, and we read it by Shabbos Nachamu Ami. And over there it says, and the pashut on the pasuk means that the enemies become like dust before his sword, and they become like straw before his bow. That's the pashut shot. But the Gemara is mentioning that the offer became to a sword, and the kash became to a keshes, became to arrows. So Avraham Avinu, according to the drash, when he had to do war, let's say on the four kings. So he doesn't say in the pasuk. It says that he won, but maybe this was the war he's talking about, that they threw even dust at them, and it became into swords, and they threw straw, and it became arrows. So maybe this is that kind of holy, whatever, this kind of miraculous earth. Nachum Ish Gamzu himself didn't think of that. He didn't. So it's earth. He didn't know what it was. Gamzu L'Tova.
I'm saying it seems that the guy had some sort of messiah. This was a battle.
Or Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi said this. The Gemara says Eliyahu Navi came and he appeared, right? There was a country that they could not conquer. This king, the Kesar, couldn't conquer a certain country. But they tried it out, that worked. Idol the begins, they took Nachum Ish Gamzu into the treasure house. They filled up his bag with precious stones and pearls, and they sent him with a great honor. Kiyasu, they changed the gear, so not here. This is in plural, but it should be in singular. Kiyasa bas bahu diyor. When he came on the way back, he slept again in the same dwelling where he came on the first trip. He came back. He stopped over there also. Amulei my Isis v'adach ta'avdilach yikar kol hayam. What did you bring over there to the king that they gave you such big honor? Amalahu my deshakta me'alcha amdilasam. Whatever I took from here, I brought over there. So they realized that, or they thought they realized that the earth that they have in the backyard is real chashav earth. Sasru l'deirayu b'amtinu l'veimak. They took about the whole house. They demolished the house, not only a bag full. They brought a truckload. The whole house they brought this is the earth that you got from here. Amulei hayafu da'isi acha medidan hu. The earth that they brought, that Nachum Ish Gamzu brought, it was from our earth, and it must be the same earth. But they tried it out, it didn't work. They killed those residents. That was a side story why it's called Nachum Ish Gamzu.
Art Scroll justifies Ki Asu that he wouldn't have been traveling alone. So when his entourage, when they all came back.
Okay, why would he have not been traveling alone?
people don't travel alone. We have that in the.
Talmid Chacham should go.
Not because they had a lot of money, not because of the Brinks truck. That's
No,
because he doesn't travel alone.
Person doesn't travel alone.
Okay, even though the whole time it did say it did say before.
What did it
Interesting.
say?
It said Ozal bus here.
He
Ozal
went
bus.
to Uzzel, yeah, it does. say
Ozal
Uzzel.
bus. The whole time it spoke in singular. Only here it changes it. Okay, but the idea is good.
What's the fashion boss?
Bus means to sleep over. They bring a pasuk in Daniel where it talks about when they threw Daniel into the den of lions. So the king was very upset, and it says bus to us, something like that. He went to sleep without eating. So they bring the word over there. The bus means to in Aramaic, a fancy Aramaic, like not the regular Aramaic. That means to sleep over. Okay, that was I got into all kinds of stories about falling walls and
You don't see the very end, but this is just to show the kind of
What the
what
mast.
Ilfa would have been.
on the mast. Don't show the
mast,
top.
the
The
top
top
one,
of the mast over there.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you go. You also had Gamzu before. You had a Gimzu over there.
And Moshe
Yeah,
Rabbeinu.
Gimzu,
Moshav
yeah,
Gimzu.
Gimzu. There's Moshav Gimzu.
That's today?
That's-
Yeah.
That's for
They
today,
spell it
that's
wrong.
today, yeah.
They
that's
spell it wrong.
today.
Should be with a yud. Gimzu.
It should.
I'm not sure. Over there in the pasuk, you have to look at the pasuk in Divrei Yamam over there. Maybe it's with a chirik, but it's not. But they do. This is the Oswald talking. Not the Oswald.
No, this is,
Daf Yomi.
Yeah, whatever it is.
So they also realized that the pasuk shot is that it's a place called Gamzu.
He must have brought from.
From Ben Hananel.
That's
Very
why they put
nice.
the picture.
Very nice.
You said it before, but where is that located? Near Modin. And that's
It's Sheshem Olim. Not so.
Okay. Ezeu Davar.
Yeah,
This is
it says in the moment, Chaval, what is Chavel
Kevin, it's,
area?
yeah.
Modin, the Modin.
No, it's Hebel. Hebel should be a string of rope.
No, this isn't the
Yeah,
string.
Region.
A region. So it says region, Modin, region.
okay. Ezeu Davar. Yeah, we'll see. Chamesh Meir Zmagos. So this is come back to the Mishnah. As we said, the whole parak of Mishnah was printed in the beginning of the parak, and it's not telling you piece by piece. So this goes back to the Mishnah. What's considered a pestilence, a plague, that they have to make tanesim if it's a city that there are 500 people, footmen. The other day, Levi Yaakov said that Oswald says that it means soldiers, and I said it can't be. But someone pointed out to me that Ben Hanal brings down over here Yotzei Tzava. So there's such a
Well, I was saying, they said able-bodied.
able-bodied.
whatever
Okay,
that-
Yotzei Tzava.
Able-bodied.
Okay, but
Meaning not old.
okay, I would think so. The Ben Hanal does say Yotzei Tzava, but fine. That's the,
Well,
we'll say what
that's what able-bodied. people
means.
would be.
Okay, so it doesn't mean Dafka soldiers. It means people that are healthy and not. Okay, so it means no other reason why they should have been expected to die. Regular healthy people, and it's a city of 500 people, and 3 people died in 3 days in a row, consecutive days. That's a devil. Tanarabanan. The Brisa says here. Here it talks about that not only 3 to 500. Of course, it's the proportion. So it could be 9 to 1500. That's what I was going to say. That it's the proportion of 3 to 500, 1 per day. So it's going to be a city which has 1,500. Chamesh Me'os ve'elef ragli, that has 1,500 people. Can go on Kfar Akko that had 1,500 people. The also on the Tisha Mesa B'Shlosh Yamim, and 9 people died in 3 consecutive days, 3 people a day. That would be considered a deber. But if it was spread out more or more intense, but Yom Echad over Daled Yom remains a deber. If it would be that they died in 1 day or in 4 days, that's not a deber. Only if it will be at the rate of 3 to a day. And
Excuse me, are we just saying that Akko, it was so big because it was a port?
no, happened to be there was 1,500 people. I don't know how big it is. 1,500 people. It's not
Okay.
huge, but 1,500 people.
I wondered maybe back then it was huge.
It could be. Then it says another example. I don't know why it gives an example. The bottom line, if it's 500 people, the case of our Mishnah, and 3 people in 3 days, that's a dever. Again, if it's a different pace, slower or faster, then it's not going to be considered a dever on the days. So the same thing as the Mishnah say about if it's going at a faster rate, just at a slower rate. But here it says at a faster rate also, and it's not attributed to plague. The plague doesn't go so fast. So someone asked, I don't know what the answer is, that it depends what plague. Some things are contagious faster, some are less, depends on the virus. I don't know. But the Gemara assumes that the average would be this ratio, 3 to 500, 1 a day, but now if it's going to be 2, everybody in 1 day, that's not attributed to a dever, something else, and no reason to assume that it's going to continue. The Gemara says the story.
So,
Yes.
The obvious question, I mean, how do we categorize, unfortunately,
So I think so. Some people said that Corona wasn't such a. It comes out to be about 0.75% of the total population. So of course, it didn't happen like that yet. Baruch Hashem, never happened. So I think that that's not the point. The point here is we don't know why people are dying. So this is a ratio that it seems like epidemic, and it's not. But if you have a laboratory and you know what happened, you know why people are dying. It wasn't that one happened to have a heart attack, one happened to have a stroke, we know that it's coronavirus. You find it in the blood, so then there's no question. If it's something which is fatal and it's contagious, so you also consider it an epidemic. How many people have to die in the Mishnah is not to say how dangerous it is. It's talking about, is it defined as an epidemic? That's something that's going to be traveling. But if you know what it is, then even if that's another thing. Yes, please.
Rabbi, I understand that Corona is higher than 1%, 2%, 3%, the fatality rate.
Of the people who got sick, but not of the total population. You don't have 3% of the population dying.
Yeah, okay.
That's what the one's talking about. How many people died from the problem? So people.
Well, I mean, is that world population or country population?
That thing was talking about is never considered something which travels. Without the sugya soon, and the Mishnah just said that city and the neighboring cities. But the Gemara is going to say soon that if there's travel between the cities, so then it comes from China around the world. So it doesn't make a difference how far it is. If people are traveling, so then they're taking it along with them. If people wouldn't be traveling, then only will be an issue for that city and the people who are in the surrounding city. The Gemara starts on the second line. Drukras. That's the name of the city. Yeah, it was a city which had 500 people population. It happened that 3 people died in one day. So we just finished learning in one day. That's too fast. That's the rate that's too fast. It's not attributed to a pestilence. But anyway, but Rav Nachman of Chisda did decree a fast. And the kasha is that we just said on the top line, how come he made a dever out? He said it's like a dever. We said if it's such a fast pace, you don't attribute it to a pestilence. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, come on, Rav Meir, that Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, he holds like Rav Rav Meir that says the faster he argues on the brisa before. Over there, it's talking about a shore, an ox to become a muad, to be considered how do you say a tam and a muad? A tam is like a first-time offense, and a muad is that he's already been mazik 3 times, so he becomes a muad. And if the question is, if it's only 3 days, one a day, what if he wore it 3 times in one day? Maybe he's in a bad mood, something that doesn't show that he's really a muad. So some say that it's not a muad, only if he would be 3 consecutive days, not in one day. The Meir argues and says no. If he would have gored at a spaced out, it would have become a muad. So surely, if he gored close to each other, it's surely a muad. So he argues on the brisa before. The brisa before said that if it's more intense, it's not attributed to a dever. Rav Meir will say that if you do something spread out, it becomes kind of a chazaka. So kal v'chomer, if it was done close together, surely. That's just to say a similar idea that the halach is when you change Mashiach Geshem over Saint Talamotor. So the Gemara says 30 days. 30 days, you could assume that he's still saying his old way if he's on automatic. If he was not thinking what he's saying and he doesn't know, did I say Saint Talamotor? Did I say Mashiach Geshem? So within 30 days, you have to be choshesh. He did his own custom. Once you get 30 days, you could assume he got into the new custom. And then the post will talk about what if he said 90 times in one day, he said Mashiach Geshem. Does he automatically break his custom? So they say it depends on this thing, or and maybe it depends on this, maybe not. Let's give another example of application of this idea. Here the Gemara says that even though the brisa on top says that it's a dever in 3 days, but it's not going to become a dever in one day, but the Meir will say that it does. So it comes out of machlokes. You have to be choshesh for an intense death rate. That's also going to be considered.
We're saying it's intense death rate is not there.
Right, the brisa before said not, and the Meir will say yes. So Meir will say that if it's far away.
Why not? I mean, sometimes it's a really bad dever. Why?
Right. So somebody asked that it should depend on. It shouldn't be considered chazaka with shore, and it should depend on the nature of the kind of epidemic. Does it go fast or does it go slow? So I don't know the answer. I don't know why it depends on the regular dinei chazaka. Yeah.
Well, 3 people could die in one day, and it could just be a fluke.
Right. That's what the Gemara is looking at it. But the Meir says no. That if you say in 3 days, three days, so then all the more so if you choshesh that's not a fluke, okay, good. That's what the Gemara was. once the word is mentioned, just to point out how it was coming in now, that Rav Nachman Bar Chisda was the one who made the decree, and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak explained him. So the Gemara just brings an Agav Mamash. Agav brings a story about Rav Nachman Bar Chisda and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, nothing to do with the Sugi at all. A bonus story over here. Amalei Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, like a Mav Leisig Rabban. He invited him to come to where he was sitting. So Rashi says maybe it was by some gathering, and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak was sitting in a place which was not so mechubad, and he said, "Come to us, come over to where I'm sitting."
According to Rashi here, it's that he lived Rav Nach, who invited
Rav
Nachman Bar
Nachman
Chisda
Bar Chisda.
lived with more Talmidei Chachamim, and he thought it would be more mekubat for him, who's a Talmid Chacham.
Does Rashi say all that?
That's what it's quoting Rashi. I don't see
Rashi
that.
just says he was sitting amongst people. He was only sitting amongst people.
I took it to mean by chasana or whatever. He was sitting by a table that's more mechubad. Then he said, "Come to our table." He sat down. It doesn't say table or city where he lived. Doesn't say all that. Doesn't say to me the chachamim. He said, "Come over to our place."
More distinguished.
More
residence.
distinguished. Yeah, that's the way to say it.
But it's not.
From where he
That he was. Doesn't mean living. Doesn't mean by the table. Doesn't mean in the shul.
Okay,
He
they're
sat down.
taking
He sat
living.
down someplace. He said, "Come to the Mizrach," whatever.
But it's not an from guy, but just that Yakir Yerushalayim. Be careful who they say.
Well, also, that guy means the person stays according to his level of people. That's not dafka gaiva. If a person goes to a place where they are lower class, so it's not his place. I don't see the gaiva over there.
No, I'm saying it's not.
It's not Gaiva.
Yakir Yerushalayim.
Yeah, yeah.
To go to sit by.
Over there, it might be. Shouldn't sit next time we are over there, right? It says over there also.
Who they signed the star with.
Yes, to know who it is, yeah.
Under company.
Yes, good. So Amalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak said to Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, Tanita, I learned. I have a brisa that says that a place of a person does not honor him. It's the person who honors the place. You take a person, no matter how honorable he is, you put him in the Mizrach, it doesn't help him. You put him in a chashuv place. If it's not deserving of it, it does not. And if he's a chashuv person, really, then wherever he's sitting is going to be honored the place. He could be sitting in the 20th row, but if he's a mechubed, that becomes a mechubed to place.
Something by Yates. Actually, in the process by
Does it say what it is?
he did an impression the fact that he left. So
Because when he was there, the place
when he
was.
was there, the place was.
And now that he left, so then the place lost it.
Yeah.
She came and this Bryce continues to say sources like that. Then a place, it's honor was because of the Shechina. But once the Shechina left, then the place wasn't chashuv anymore. She came with Sina Bar Sinai. She calls man Shechina Shvuya Allah V'Am Torah Kama Son Rav Makali Yul Makom Hahorahu. That by Har Sinai, as long as the Shechina was residing on that mountain, so the Torah says that the sheep and the cattle should not pasture opposite that mountain. But the Stalka Shechina, Mimenu Am Torah B'Shoch HaYovel. First white line. Then after the Shechina left, then Hashem said, when the shofar is going to give a long blast, and it's going to go on to. You see that the Har Sinai is only holy as long as the Shechina is there. The Shechina left, and the mountain is not holy. The Chemad Sin of all Moed, Sheba Midbar, Shekos Man Shunat Yom Torah V'Yishlachum and Amachaneh Kol Tzivur V'Chol Zav. The Mishkan and the Midbar, as long as it was set up, so then the Torah says that the people that are Tamei have to leave the Machane. So Ruah, Zav, Tamei, they can't be in the Machane because the Shechina is there. But then when they rolled the Ochres means that they were traveling. So then the place, there's no Kedusha anymore. They're allowed to go in the place where the Machane was before, because now the Shechina is not there. So those are the two sources that say that a place doesn't have the Kedusha, it doesn't have it's not distinguished only according to the resident over there. So here too, he said, it's no problem that I'm staying, it's not going to help me to go to where you are. And I'm staying in my place. And even though the people around here are not so much, doesn't make him a Lagabi Mar. So then Rav Nachman Rav Chisda said, if you're not going to come to me, I will come to you. Amalei, no, I'll come to you. Amalei, for a different reason, not because of the place, for my honor, but it's more appropriate that I should come to you than you should come to me. Mutav Yavam Mana Ben Pras, it's a Mana Ben Mana, Val Yavam Mana Ben Mana is a Mana Ben Pras. So even though both of them seem to be on the equal level of greatness, Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, but the fathers, Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, his father Rav Chisda was greater than the father of Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Yitzchak and Rav Chisda, he's not even, actually points out, he's not even called Rav Yitzchak. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, his father was not a Rav, and Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, his father was Rav Chisda. So it's more appropriate that the one who has the yichus should come to the one who doesn't have the yichus. So he calls it Amana ben Pras. Amana is 100 or some kind of weight of 100, and Pras is half of that. Either could be 100 coins, probably 100 coin weight. Pras is half of that. So Amana ben Pras.
This measure in the what do you call it, in the spices.
Mhm.
Monochrobic.
Right. Amana b'chol yom.
Wonderful.
Pras b'shach is Pras ben Abayim. Yes, you go. So here he called himself Amana ben Pras because his father was not as big a Talmud Chacham. Should come to Amana ben Mana because your father is a Talmud Chacham, and it shouldn't be. You should come to me, Mana ben Mana. Shouldn't come to Mana ben Pras. Just to point out here that you see it's not considered bizayon for his father, that he says his father is not a big Talmud Chacham like somebody else's father. It's not a bizayon. It means that different level of greatness. It's not saying that he's bad. His father was not a big Talmud Chacham, and he said it's more proper that I should come to you because your father is big greater than my
Rav
father.
Chisda was better. Was
More than
better
Yitzchak.
than Yitzchak.
Doesn't say. Okay.
Doesn't say Rav Yitzchak.
So that's the end of that. Gemara, how did it come in? Just Aga, because he mentioned Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak and Rav Nachman Rav Chisda. How did that come in before? Because Drukras, the city that they made a decree, and Rav Nachman Rav Chisda made the decree. Rav Nachman Yitzchak explained it. They had these two names together, so the Gemara gives a bonus of this story. Gemara goes back to our sugi of our Mishnah about the Dever. We're on the fifth wide line. The Surah, Havas Davarta. In Surah, there was a Dever. Surah is a city in Bavel, and Rav lived over there. The Moses right away, and there was a Dever. There was a plague, the epidemic in Surah. But the Shivahu said the Rav lived at Davarta. But in the neighborhood of Rav, within Surah, there was no Dever. It didn't come into his neighborhood. Savumine, people thought, said the Rav, the reason why the Dever didn't come to his neighborhood is because of Schus of Rav, that in his neighborhood the Dever didn't come. It's Chazilu B'Chelma, that if Fish Amil says Rav. The people who thought so, a dream appeared to them that they were wrong. It's not because of Rav. Rav has much chuyot, and he's like, this is even like small on him. This is surely he had enough schus that the Deborah shouldn't be in his neighborhood. But he said here it wasn't the reason. It's true, Rav surely had enough schus, and even more. But the reason why there was no Deborah is not because of Rav. The reason why the Deborah didn't come is because the merit of a man who used to lend out tools, a hoe and a zavila, I don't know what that is, a hoe and a
according to
kind of a, both of them are kinds of holes, hose,
one's a shovel and
one's a hoe, and for burial. So he had a gemach for burial tools, and in the merit of the fact that he lent out these tools, so that's why there was no Deborah. Rashi points out a nice thing that I didn't notice, that it has to do with the Keneged Mida. No, it didn't stop. Didn't come to their neighborhood.
Oh,
And that neighborhood didn't come on. That block it didn't come on.
because they say it was because of Rav's.
They thought because of Rav. And the dream said, not because of Rav. Rav surely could have his chus enough, but it wasn't because of Rav. It was because of the merit of this gemach. And Rashi points out that's Mida Keneged Mida, because there were people die, and he took care of people's burial needs. So nobody needed burial. In the merit that he used to have such a gemach. Nowadays, no one needs such a gemach because the
But
Chevra
still
Kadisha.
Rav was there, so I don't quite.
He didn't need Rav's chus for that. It wasn't in Rav's chus. It was because of this
Didn't
man.
use any of his schus.
It wasn't
Small
famous.
Small
A new story, another story, similar idea. The Sabbath like there was a fire in Ras, which we had on top of the page. That was Drukra, so there also was a Deborah before. He had also was a Laker, there was a fire. But Shavu said Ravuna lived in that neighborhood, in that city, and in the neighborhood in that city, the fire didn't spread to that part. And it was like something that was conspicuously that it didn't come to that part of the city. People again thought it was because of the merit of Huna that has such a big merit. That's why he saved the city. That is Shehu Harbe. That is a big. He has a lot of schus, not fish. But it's Chazi Lubechelma. But they got shown in a dream. This is small for Avuna. It means surely Avuna has enough schus for that, but this is not necessary. It was in the merit of a woman who used to heat up the oven and let the neighbors use it. That she lent her oven to other people. Also, again, it's the Mida Keneged Mida, the hot oven, the fire in the oven, and the fire in the city, because she used fire in the good way, so they were saved from the fire. Again, the gemach for the oven. And
she didn't need to bake, or
she
she would put more heat in
yeah,
there
she would let it
for
burn
more than what she
more,
needed.
in order to lend it out.
Other people who couldn't afford it.
Right. So this is the source of all kinds of gemachim, any kind of gemach that people have
This is the
nowadays.
source of the Machem.
That you have many kinds of things people will lend out, and they see a big merit. It saves each one. You see that the Mida Keneged Mida, Rashi points out that it saves the person or the whole neighborhood from that type of issue. Back to the new stories. Amulei Rav Yehuda Asu Kamsi. They told Rav Yehuda that the grasshoppers came. They saw the beginning of a locust. Because of Tanisa, so he decreed there should be a fast day. Amulei Lakam Amsterdam. But they said they don't need a fast day because nothing's getting destroyed, no problem. Even though there are locusts over here, it's not destroying anything. Amalahu Zavda Aisu Badayu. They brought together with them rations. They brought with them provisions. They never. If there's locusts, there's going to eat. So even though you don't see the effect right now, but surely it's going to happen. So surely you have to make a fast even if you don't see that they're destroying it.
A suitcase is called in Hebrew Mizvada, right?
Right, but I think that the source of the word Zavda means provisions.
David Tov is the Dani.
That's what the base.
What is
Say
Rashi?
Seder. You say say. This is the translation of the word Seder. Seder. Seder Laderach. Seder. No, this is Hebrew and Aramaic. The word Seder in Hebrew and in Aramaic is going to be Zavdasa, provisions. They talk about Zavdasa also when they talk about Tachmichem, shrouds. That's called Zavdasa. That's also called provisions. Provisions for whatever you need. So, but food is provisions of this. The dead man needs shrouds. And
Could you just ask, what is the lesson from Rashi?
Rashi?
On the bottom? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. If I just till I find it.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a Mara.
Seder. Rashi says Seder. Very nice. The Chit Seder. Rashi uses the word Seder.
Where's
The Chit Seder the Imam.
Let's say that he Mahim actually. Okay, I thought it was.
It's true that the modern word for suitcase is mizvada. They got it from here. They got it from the word. That's the way they got it from.
Did they bring food along with them? So they're going to cause damage.
It's close.
Provision.
Oh, there's no reference to that.
I think. Okay, look it up later. There's a dictionary. I think that maybe it'll help us. Okay, the one continues.
So Yonis asks, is there any source in the Torah, in the Chamisha Chum Torah, of such a word?
So I think it's Aramaic for the word Seder. So look, you have to look in the Targum on the word Seder. What the Targum for that word is.
Where do we find how to find Seder?
They go there, no?
So what does it say?
Where do
So
you
the
find-
word Seder.
where do you
I
find
think the
Seder?
word Seder might be by Yeshua, by the Givonim.
Uh-huh.
Maybe, I'm not sure. The Gemara continues. Amul, the top line of the screen. Amul Rav Yehuda, Ika Mosna B'Chaziri. They told Rav Yehuda that there's a dever, a pestilence amongst the pigs. There's some kind of disease amongst the pigs and the because of Tanisa. So he made a fast. What?
Why did you nervous about things?
Why? Yeah. Why is he concerned about pigs? No one's going to name Rav Yehuda. Is it because he holds that if there's a dever in one type, that it's also a problem for other types also? So if it's going to be by the pigs, it's going to be by the cows also. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be by the people. No, that's not the reason. Maybe not. But that pigs are something specific, not for them, because the intestines of pigs are similar to that of humans. So it could be that it's similar for humans. Not for pigs. If it will be something else, only if you're concerned about that particular thing. But if not, also it's not dangerous. Probably you don't make, even if the cows are going to die, I don't know if you make a fast for that, only for humans. And the point was, if there's going to be a dever amongst the cows, they can make for people. So Moshe says, only by pigs. Pigs are something unique because the intestines is similar to that of humans. Amulei l'Shmuel. They told Shmuel, "Likim Moshe beChozai." There's a dever, there's a pestilence in Bechozai. Bechozai is very far away. Gazar Tanisa. He made a decree. He decreed a Tanis also. Now the Gemara says, the Mishnah says that only that city and the surrounding cities. And here he made it far away. Amalei v'Merchak is very far away. Amalei v'Mav v'Hofa de Pasikle. There's no either betmiya. Rashi is too short if it's betmiya or it's how you read it. But I mean, the point is to say that there's no way that is there no separation, that it could still come here. Now, the Gemara doesn't say yet how it answers the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that it's only the surrounding cities, not far away. So we still have to go a little bit further. Amalei of Nachman, Ika must have buried Yisrael. They said to Rav Nachman that there's a dever in Israel. He's in Bava. Because of Tanis, he made a Tanis in Bava. Amar, said the reason is even though it's far away, this is special. In Gevira Loka, Shifra Lokolshkein. If the mistress is being struck, so the maidservant surely. So if Eretz Yisrael is being struck, so then the people in Chutz La'aretz also have to worry, even though it's far away. Not because the dever is actually going to travel. But if there's a makkah in Eretz Yisrael, so the people in Chutz La'aretz also have to be worried. The Gemara Sakasha, it's
Have to close the airport.
There you go.
the Gemara Sakasha time with the Gebir Shivcha v'Shivcha Lo. It's mashma only because Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. But if it would have been both of Chutz La'aretz, you don't have to make a. But Shmuel did. We said a second ago that Shmuel did make Gzer even far away. Shani Hassam, Chiban the Ika Shayrasa, the Lavi, Ba'asya Badi, because they were caravans. So there was travel. Shmuel meant to say that there's travel between Beit Chazor, people do come. That's the same thing as we said about China. People came from China.
Yeah.
So if the airport's open, so then it doesn't make a difference if it's far away. They take it along with them. But if it wouldn't be, everyone would be staying in the same place, and then only the city itself and its surroundings. And here, by Eretz Yisrael and Babel, the point was that there was no travel in between. And therefore he said, if it would have been Chutz La'aretz, I wouldn't have been concerned. But Eretz Yisrael, that's the reason why the Shivcha has to be concerned, because if the mistress is getting punished, so surely the Shivcha should be worried.
Even without physical contact.
Right,
even if it's
right,
not-
right. So it will stop him.
I don't understand. You say there was no physical traveling, but
But in Eretz, if Eretz Yisrael is getting punished, so then Chutz La'aretz has to be worried also.
because of Einish.
Yeah, because the Gebira says, even though it's not going to be the same punishment,
So where did you get it from?
till the word Badei. The Iko Shayrasa, the Lave Basya Badei. There's a Shayara, a caravan that accompanies it. Means the Dever is going to come along with the caravan. If they're coming on the plane, the Dever comes along also as an accompaniment. Hashem should protect Am Yisrael and all. Okay? Yes, thank you. And what's the Shabbos Bezos Hashem at 6:45? 6:45 for the rest of the season. Bezos Hashem, 6:45. Yes, Carl.
That's online.
This
Yeah.
this is on the screen. This is just connected to this, and this I got it down from Hebrew books.
It's recorded.
Hebrew books.
Yeah, but
What
it's
is Hebrew books mean?
Hebrew books is a website that you get all kinds of Hebrew books. So I'm just downloading it from there in order to see the dot.
They have-
all-
Is there a chart?
It was a big one.
No.
Hebrew books.
Hebrew books.
Yeah.
Do they have Gemara?
Obviously,